From Sigma Woman, this is the Business for Aligned Women podcast. I'm your host, Clara McKay, your aligned business coach and advocate for all things showing up for your vision. This is a no BS space for brave-hearted women who are actually craving change. I'm dedicated to bringing women's visions into reality, equipping women with all they need to build an abundant future, and shutting down all of the ways that you keep yourself small. Here, we're all about a women-centered approach, non-negotiable value alignment, and making bank without compromising your well-being. Each week, you're already one step closer to your most aligned and abundant future. We have a great podcast episode today with one of my incredible naturopath clients, Tayla Lovering of Wild Health Studio. A lot of you follow her. A lot of you are engaged with her content. I see the connections on the socials, so I think you're going to enjoy this episode. We talk really at detail in the speciality of luteal phase health and luteal phase well-being. So what she means by that is the stuff that tends to happen in the second half of the cycle, everything from ovulation to period pain, heavy periods, PMDD, those kind of mood changes that happen in the second half of the cycle, and supporting you to feel better in that. And I see this play out all the time in my business. I see women just fall completely off in the second half of their cycle. And it's definitely an area where we probably all need to support ourselves a little bit more, and also to change our expectations in that phase in order to build our confidence and our progress as well. So I will leave that for Tayla and her expertise to go into it with you. We also chat a little bit about energy levels and how to create more energy as a business owner. And that might be an unusual conversation that doesn't go where you think it will go. So if that's interesting to you and you are someone who is feeling a bit low energy and you want to tap into more, stay tuned. And as is aligned with today's conversation, don't forget I have my free cycle syncing business planner. It's going to give you a little bit of information from my perspective as to the best tasks to do in each phase of your cycle. So it'll help you plan out your month, and also the red flags for each phase of your cycle. So the things that you really should not expect yourself to do in certain phases. And people often really whittle down their self-worth and self-confidence in business by expecting themselves to do things that are completely out of alignment with the energy of the cycle that they're in their phase. Even if you don't menstruate, I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. And Tayla also shares her experience in coaching with me, and also a little bit of a chat about her experience in having some design work with me as well, and how that differs to design work that she's had done with other designers. And yeah, we just chat about the positive aspects of the way I'm running my branding offerings. Let's get into it. Hi, Tayla. It's so lovely to have you here. I'd love to start out with you introducing yourself and speaking about what you specialize in as a naturopath.
Absolutely. So I'm a naturopath. I have been practicing for over 3 years now, and I specialize in the concerns that pop up in the second phase or second half of your cycle, in the luteal phase, in other words. So these issues can stem around ovulation. That could be with ovulation pain. I see a lot of conditions like PMS, PMDD, a lot of endometriosis and adenomyosis, painful periods, heavy periods, and also see a lot of anxiety, mood disturbances in that second half of the cycle as well. Things like burnout. And then I work with a lot of gut health. So it's a massive focus of clinic. So anything from bloating to constipation, diarrhea, or just irregular bowel habits and food intolerances. Yeah, and I support all of these areas to optimize hormonal health going forward.
Amazing. And from working with you, I know that there's a connection between those second half of the phase issues and gut health. Do you think you could do a really quick beginner's explainer as to some of those connections?
Yes, absolutely. It's a massive connection, even just with constipation. I see this a lot. For example, if we're not eliminating through our bowel motions every day with a healthy formed bowel motion, we're not detoxifying excess hormones effectively. So that's where we can have a buildup of imbalances going on, or excess hormones can build and cause some of these hormonal imbalances, which can cause a lot of the, especially period pain or heavy periods, can really worsen things like endometriosis as well. And another way we see it a lot in clinic is histamine intolerance, whether or not you're getting it through dietary histamines and how that can impact, say, ovulation or high estrogen points of the cycle. So, yeah, ovulation or just as you get your period or the second half of your luteal phase. Both of these can be worsened by histamine intolerance as well. So, working on the gut, improving gut microbiome health, getting your detox pathways to work effectively really improve these areas of your hormonal health as well.
Yeah, so interesting. I've seen so many people on TikTok talking about histamine and PMDD. So it's definitely something that's becoming more in the conscious awareness. I just think it's really important to highlight because there's so many people like selling detox kits and liver detox and this and that. And I think, like, I know from my own well-being pursuits and studies and practices that a healthy poo is usually the first point of call that we want to keep
Totally.
going to rather than I've seen other people, I don't know your thoughts on it, but I've seen other people saying that a lot of these liver detoxes put too much pressure on the liver.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're going so far away from just getting the body to do the detoxing itself. It doesn't need to be more than that. It shouldn't be aggressive in a way. It doesn't need to be so extreme. It can just be getting you to go to the toilet is essentially getting you to detoxify optimally. Sweating, like actually sweating through sweaty exercise. Saunas are great too, but sweaty exercise is definitely enough. Moving your lymphatic system by just moving is, yeah, really effective at detoxifying. And then liver function, simply avoiding alcohol or including more cruciferous veg in your diet can have amazing effects on your liver function as well. So it's just optimizing your diet and your lifestyle to get your detox mechanisms to work effectively for you rather than just these crazy over the top kind of detox protocols.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the women that are probably going through this stuff are gentle, subtle, sensitive women. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
should be doing these really hardcore things with them.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's that whole parasite protocol phase as well. And I think it's just missing a lot of the point. We want to nourish what your microbiome is like. We want to optimize your body's natural ability to detoxify or to re-regulate, say, for example, the microbiome, rather than just be focused on elimination and detoxing and killing things off. It can be really harsh on the body. And I think it does so much more harm than good.
Interesting. You're talking about detoxing and balancing hormones, and you mentioned exercise and sweating. And I've noticed in my clients who tend to be more sensitive and sometimes more spiritually inclined that intense sweaty exercise has just fallen off. Somewhere in the wellness journey, they
Mm,
picked up that they shouldn't exercise hard. And I have noticed that those people, because they're never breaking the stress cycle,
mm,
they're never fully processing cortisol, that it's just snowballing day in, day out. And they tend to be the people who are wildly overthinking and like very anxious. Have you noticed any correlation with
that. Absolutely. I actually see this quite a bit. I think it's women, we're still meant to be doing some of the higher intensity stuff. It's not all gentle. We have our masculine and our feminine within our cycle, and vigorous exercise where we really push ourselves and can increase our heart rate, for example. It teaches our bodies to be in that state of stress, but then also to calm back down and come re-regulate our essentially our nervous system. So yeah, I think it's a loss if we've taken it out completely. It should just be worked around the menstrual cycle a little bit better. And yeah, I think we can almost be a little bit too gentle these days as well. There's a big focus and a big push on being quite gentle, which I think you're missing out on a lot of benefits from the higher intensity or the more strenuous exercise at certain times as well.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. And it's like with all my clients, I always, because obviously autistic, I've got a lot of pattern recognition. So I pick up these hypotheses and I'm like,
Yeah.
every single person is proving this hypothesis. And I think people forget because there's so much noise around fitness and wellness and food, obviously. And I think people forget that, like, we're mammals. If
Mm.
we're stressed, we were designed to run.
Yeah.
So we need to sometimes pick up the intensity just to like flush that out of the system.
Yeah, definitely. Just retrain your body to be in that state of stress and to then calm back down from it, reducing that heart rate back down. I think it's so important. I agree. Totally.
It's like cortisol, nervous system flexibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And that goes so much further into the menstrual cycle and keeping things balanced as well, because we need to have that adaptation because in the second half of our cycle, we're more, I guess, sensitive to stress and things like that too. So teaching your body a little bit more about its stress patterns is really important as well. And yeah, flexing that muscle. Exactly.
Yeah, cool. We'll get back on track now that I've had my vested interest sorted out. Obviously, I work with women and I work with women full time. So I'm having a lot of conversations with women about their health and everything because often incapacitating menstrual issues has a direct impact on someone's productivity in their business. So I see that a lot of women tend to suffer with these issues and they assume they can't be helped. And it's a bit of a woe is me, I'm not going to bother anyone about it vibe. Can you share some of the ways that you can get quick results with some of these symptoms?
Yeah, I actually see this a lot. People think that their symptoms are just permanent and this is just the way it is and there's no support or treatment out there. But yeah, I work on this with my clients in clinic every day, and there's definitely proof in the fact that you don't need to suffer with these symptoms at all. And it's more about learning about your body. My number one tip is definitely cycle awareness or cycle tracking if you're not already doing that. So just knowing what you need more of during each phase of your cycle and knowing how to nourish yourself optimally during these phases of your cycle is just the best foundation for supporting any symptoms that do come up, because then we can understand and interpret symptoms as they arise. And it's much easier for you to then either work with someone like me to optimize your cycle or to get to the bottom of your symptoms. And also just allows you to understand ways in which you can better support yourself. My second tip would be getting your bowels moving. Like I said before, detoxing is a massive part of hormonal health and also gut health as well. We need this to be happening every day between 1 and 3 times per day. So increasing your fiber, drinking lots more water, these things can help. With particular guidance would be important as well. But yeah, getting your bowels moving, whether that be even eating enough food, is really important part of supporting these conditions as well. And just addressing the gut microbiome as a whole. And my third tip would be stress management. So definitely hormonal function or hormones are produced when we're in that rest and digest state. They're not going to be happening if we're in that fight or flight, because it just shuts off. Stress really shuts off unnecessary bodily processes. Specifically, if you're in a stressed state, we're not going to be ovulating to have a baby, for example. So we're not going to be producing hormones adequately to support your overall health. So stress management is a huge part in this. We need to be implementing strategies every day to keep our stress at bay. That includes supporting sleep quality as well. And then some other things would just be, yeah, sweating, like I mentioned, and also testing. So testing rather than guessing with your symptoms, definitely an important part of getting quicker results.
So having more awareness rather than the throwing spaghetti at the wall type thing.
Totally, yes. I see so many people in clinic come with 10 different supplements, just assuming they've got, for example, estrogen dominance, when it might not be that. It could be progesterone deficiency, yeah, a lot of different things, cortisol, unmanaged, things like that. So I definitely think testing is always the way to go.
Yeah, I'll never forget probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know where or why I got the idea, but I got the idea that I needed to take Vitex.
Mm.
And I went and got it from the chemist and I gained 5 kilos in 2 days.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, Vitex is number one for that. So many people are not meant to be on Vitex, and yeah, I would say it's in most reproductive or hormonal balancing supplements out there as well. Yeah, got to be careful.
Introducing Sigma Studio for aligned, considered, and resonant branding. We create beautiful and functional brands. We're offering branding for women-led businesses and creative endeavors. It's sustainably priced and via the strategic lens of a business consultant with over 5 years experience. We will visually speak directly to your ideal client. We've taken the time to listen and understand what you need to make running your business and creating content easeful. We give you everything you need and don't ask you to pay for anything that you won't actually use. We make beautiful, intentionally positioned brands that resonate with you and your clients to help you step into your highest power and grace as a business owner. So you said that getting that cycle awareness and knowing what people need more of in each phase, do you specifically mean food?
Yeah, food. I find we can be quite restrictive, especially in people are like, oh, we've got to avoid sugar and we've got to avoid saturated fats, for example. But really, it's more about adding more nourishing food into the diet at different phases of the cycle, especially in that second half of the cycle, where our metabolism has increased from that little temperature spike after ovulation. And, we actually need more food to be able to feel good. And so when we have all those cravings happening, and I guess that fatigue that can come in that luteal phase as well, we need complex carbohydrates to nourish our hormones and stop us from being so irritable with PMS or stop us from feeling that fatigue. So, yeah, I think it's about knowing what you need at different phases of your cycle so that then you can ultimately support yourself with diet and lifestyle tips throughout the month rather than significant changes.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I'm just seeing how your work and my work is actually really similar. Both of us, it's like women are pushing and forcing and trying to do things that aren't working.
Yeah.
And both of us are going, you need support in these areas.
Yeah.
Here's the
Yeah.
thing you can do. So I just think that's really interesting that, yeah, I do think women tend to punish themselves quite often. And this concept of adding more in rather than taking more out would probably be quite strange for a lot of women.
Yeah, for sure. So we always think that it's another food that's the problem or another habit that they're doing that's the problem. But it's like you need more rest, you need more gentle movement or more higher intensity movement or more sleep. I think it's about adding more in and, yeah, nourishing your body, nourishment all the way.
This is something that I picked up, I think, from a book years ago, and I don't know how true this is. You might have heard of it or not, but this book said that if you restricted food in the luteal phase, you gained weight in the follicular phase. So it's
Yeah.
your metabolism is much faster in the second half of your cycle. So it's
Yeah.
better off to eat a little bit more when your metabolism is faster.
That's why I think cycle tracking is so great because you can tune into actually in the second half of my cycle, I am more hungry. And knowing that's a good thing, there's a sign of you've had healthy ovulation occur. So eating enough to keep your cortisol down, for example, is incredible. And then in that first half of your cycle, when usually you can get your bleed and everyone's a little bit different, but often we have that decrease in our appetite. So we naturally don't want to eat as much. And knowing that's also really normal. And leading up to ovulation, lighter foods can feel a lot better. And that's when our metabolism is about 10% slower.
It's always a funny one when you've got friends and stuff who are really into calorie counting and then you have this other extra kind of layer of awareness. It's good to look at it as a more holistic experience, I think.
Women's health is totally holistic, and calorie counting is a whole nother kettle of fish. I think it can be really damaging because we're missing out on just the nourishment of the food and what they actually do for you rather than just seeing them as a number.
Yeah. So this is probably a hard question, but is there either a message that you'd like to share to any women business owners about their health, or is there one thing that you just wished every woman knew about their health?
Probably, I guess, more of the same, but we're not meant to be the same during each part of our cycle. And I think this is why I worked with you because it just aligned so much with the fact that doing business in alignment with your cycle is just so powerful. We have some seriously productive times in our cycle that we can really harness, and also creative times in our cycle that we can harness. And then in that later luteal phase, we can just get those more mini jobs done, which I think is really powerful. So I definitely think that cycle tracking with your business is a massive thing. And also just knowing that having cycle awareness and what you're doing within your cycle is a superpower, really. Like your menstrual cycle and cycle tracking is just a superpower. It basically having that knowledge about what you need in each phase of your cycle will help you so much in business, and will, instead of waking up one day and feeling blah and not knowing why, you can actually give yourself what you need so you can still get the job done and keep powering through with your business in a more aligned way.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm all for that. Having a really deep self-awareness around one's cycle is often a big blind spot for people, even if they identify themselves as being highly self-aware. I've noticed this as a correlation that people might be very attuned to energy or interested in spiritual, they might be meditating every day, but when it comes to being self-aware of the tendencies that arise throughout their cycle most months, that's a bit of a blind spot. And I know I've talked about it on the podcast multiple times, but it's very hard to coach people like that because they'll go into a really big second guessing, overthinking, self-doubt, pivot, rewrite the whole business plan every pretty much 8 weeks. And if they just said, oh, I feel like shit today because I'm about to get my period, so I might just answer some emails and not do anything else,
Yeah.
they would probably be much, much more successful in their business. And I just want to put that out there from my perspective that there's a lot of women out there really violently sabotaging their financial success because they have a lack of their cycle awareness.
Yeah, definitely. I think saying that you've got really low energy and you're feeling like second guessing everything, and maybe you're suffering from PMS or PMDD, and that's just really debilitating second half of your cycle every single month. And you're not sure why, you think it's random, but actually, if you cycle track, you can see that correlation and start to question it and either support it or know what you can do instead of listening to that voice.
And maybe get some help from a naturopath, someone like yourself, because obviously testing and you can go really in depth, but I'm sure that subtle lifestyle changes are probably going to make a massive difference as well.
Yeah, definitely. The subtle lifestyle and dietary kind of changes can make such a difference. What I was mentioning before, cycle awareness, cycle tracking, getting your gut health, bowel motions going, and just stress management, real basic, I guess, underlying things can make the world of difference with a lot of these phase imbalances.
Yeah, and we've been talking about health, well-being, and productivity, but the last little piece I want to interject on this is doing this, I believe, will actually help your confidence and your self-worth as well, because every 4 to 8 weeks, you can't do anything and you drop the ball and you feel like shit and you make up a story about it. I can't be consistent. I'm so shit or whatever. When really it's just I'm getting my period and I'm really nutritionally unsupported, or I'm not detoxing properly, or I haven't exercised in 3 years. That then we can stop grabbing onto these negative narratives that we're coming up about ourselves and actually just move into a place of support, which I think is what most people need.
Yes, so true. Absolutely. I agree completely.
All right, I've just got a couple more questions. We're still working together one-to-one. It's been lovely and it's been so nice to watch you gently flourish. But you undertook an aligned business intensive with me last year. I'd love for you to reflect on what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was incredible. Even reflecting back more and more, you keep us accountable for it, which is really good, as in hold us to high standards, which I think is the best thing for our business. But yeah, it's been honestly incredible. I learned so much in that time, and everything I implemented has genuinely saved me hours and hours of time. There's a lot of those processes that have just really optimized my time. And even before I was feeling so, I guess, unsure of how to section out my week and what was the most important thing. And I think even just knowing that is really powerful and makes me feel a lot more calm as well day to day, which was a big part of what I wanted to work on, is getting that gentle business up and running. Yeah, less guessing now and more flow and ease, which is, yeah, really good. Because I was just
I
sitting
think,
there
yeah.
just fluffing around for so many hours, just trying to do things in such a backwards way. And I think the biggest part is that I was feeling so drained every day
Yeah.
from it. Some of the things that we've implemented that have just saved my mental clarity as well, mental capacity.
Yeah, and I can tell in working with you, like you're obviously always a beautiful, lovely, kind person to be around. You were a bit more emotionally fraught, I think, and now you seem a lot more relaxed. You seem way more chill, and I think that's probably just come from you literally having those hours back to yourself.
Yeah. And even with my downtime, now I can enjoy my downtime without feeling worried or stressed about things because I just know that there's a plan, which saves me time. Yeah, so I can enjoy more of the things I love too, which I think ultimately charges me back up.
It 100% does. I'm all for like huge success and making tons of money and big communities and all that kind of stuff. But really, my thing is get women to make money and then enjoy their lives,
That's
you know,
it.
rather than spending 24 hours a day thinking about fucking Instagram. My God, what a waste of a life. It's the one thing I think, oh my God, on my deathbed, I'm gonna think how many years of my life did I waste doing social media for my business. And I just want women to have an enjoyable experience like in their life. You deserve that.
Yeah, there's so much more to life than just your work. And I think as well, not just identifying as it, doing what we've done has allowed me to see that and to feel that actually in my life.
We've touched on this a little bit, but I did want to specifically because so many people are very social media obsessed in their business, sometimes rightfully and oftentimes out of balance. They shouldn't be that obsessed with it. When we first started the intensive, you were doing everything manually. So you're posting, you're checking, you're getting notifications all the time. You were going on socials on the weekend, in the evenings. And as I said, you're a bit frazzled. What are things like now in comparison with that?
Yeah, there's just so much more clarity in what I need to be posting because it's more about supporting more people and getting more clients to support rather than just growing a massive following as well. There's been a lot of clarity around knowing what to post, when to post, and how to post rather than constantly being so caught up in it all every day. I think pre-planning the month ahead has given me a lot of space as well.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting with you because I know one bit of feedback that you gave me at some point was that you were getting a lot of people DMing you saying that they felt like you were speaking directly to them. And those people are
Exactly.
booking in for calls and really high rate of conversion to become your clients. And I think some people who've been winging social media for a long time think that having a strategy is inauthentic or insensitive or something. But actually, having this strategy has meant people feel more connected to you.
Yeah, exactly. Showing up consistently has shown them that I'm here and I'm speaking directly to the people that I want to be supporting. And they're getting that message to them as well. And they reach out really genuinely. It doesn't feel inauthentic, or I don't feel inauthentic when I'm posting or anything because I used to worry about that too.
And it works, which is the
Yeah.
most important thing.
Yeah.
Just this last weekend or this last week, we did a little bit of design work. I put together a marketing collateral pack for you so that you could bulk create a ton of content, which is what I spent today doing for myself.
Mm.
I'd love to hear, was that experience different to any other experiences that you've had with graphic designers in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had experiences where they've just taken a long time to respond. They feel really detached from the process. And I feel the energy and the motivation behind ideas and getting your business up and running and everything like that. If they're not having that same motivation, I guess it just feels a bit detached and a bit low vibe. It just feels like I want this process to be really fun and creative and for it to just be done in a way. Yeah, but when it's slow and detached and a bit non-responsive, it makes it hard as a business owner. Whereas with working with you, it's just been really quick, done in real time. So when we've been talking about it, I can just get to work ASAP, which has been good.
Yeah, we turned it around in, I think, 5 days or something.
Yeah, it was so great.
That's a thing that I just want to put out there, that people can trust that I will do it before the day that I said I was going to do it.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
a lot of people out there are not operating that way. But that's enough about that. What's the best way for people to start working with you?
A discovery call can help you to understand the process and things like that. I think that's always really nice if you're unsure, if you've not seen a naturopath before. But otherwise, booking in an initial consult, we do it all there anyway. We'd send you off for the right testing. We go through your whole health history, really put your whole picture together. And then your follow-up consults, we go through all of that testing and send you off with a plan so we can really address everything. I think testing, there's obviously functional testing, there's blood testing, there's a lot of different testing out there, but I always just work with the client. So it's definitely, I think, worth doing an initial consult and getting straight into it.
Of it. And so you work with people and their finances and where they're at and what they need done. But it's obviously, I love the fact that naturopaths do a lot of testing because it's all very science-based rather than sometimes at the GP, it's just they're purely guests just looking at you in 10 seconds.
Exactly.
I think that's beautiful. And if anyone's having any issues, period related, menstrual related, ovulation related, second half of the cycle related, Tayla is the person to go to.
Yes, love it.
For being here.
Thank you.
If you can't tell, getting to share this time with you is something that I find truly sacred. I know that you're busy, but if you've taken anything away from our time spent together today, could you extend the love and share this episode with a friend, your community, or on your socials? Tag me so that I can see it and I can share it too. Or when you have a spare moment, leave the podcast a review. These things cost you nothing and will mean so much to me. Let's get this resource into the hands of more women visionaries and help us collectively move towards our most aligned way of being and doing business together.